All right, we're live. SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Paulie and Teddy, Google Hangout every Thursday, 8 o'clock Pacific. Get in here with your questions. Let's fire away. We got 2 games going on right now. And SportsBit Live brought to you by YouWager tonight. Covers, how are you?
I'm doing great. What? Give me that sponsor again. Brought to you, powered by. We worked on this for like YouWager.com.
Yep.
Thank you. How am I doing tonight? Stressed out like everybody else watching these games, dude. I mean, it's down to the wire.
Here's Tripp's in early. He's right. The officiating in the Gonzaga game was the worst I've ever seen, but he still had Zag's money line in the under. I mean, it's a Dave Hall show. I don't know what was worse, the 4-minute meeting at the monitor with 1:59 left or 20.
They got it right, though. I mean, I don't blame the 4-minute meeting. They got it right. Okay. I mean, yeah, it lasted a little while. Maybe a little bit too long. That's why you have multiple TVs, man. You're clicking around, and watching the NBA. Look, the break up the Nets. Do you see what Brooklyn did tonight? Forget about the big dance. The Nets won back-to-back games the first time all year.
Well, I mean, the Suns aren't
covered as chalk.
They were favored. Come on.
The
Suns are a minor league outfit right now. This was, I mean, I'm with Tripp on that one. 27 first-half fouls. No flow at all. Well, the ugliest games you're ever going to see. Both guys.
It would have been uglier without the free throws, Paul. It would have been way uglier without the free throws. The free throws at least created some points. If they don't have free throws in that game,
every time down. What's wrong with you?
Exactly. If there were no free throws in that game, neither team gets to 50. It's a 40.
Basketball. There's no flow. They're calling a foul every time down. It was like the Northwestern game too. How about Williams Goss? He might have played the worst game. Horrible. He had 10 points, 2 of 10 shooting, and they still win. Something we've talked about, that nasty Gonzaga defense, Teddy.
Well, I mean, West Virginia missed a lot of shots. And I mean, that whole game turned on the one play. I mean, literally, West Virginia's up 1. They have 2 free throws. They miss them both, but they get the offensive rebound. Mm-hmm. And then the block, the pass down court, Williams finds his teammate in the corner. He drains the 3. Ball game, right? I mean, that was, we went from 60 to, I had a plus 3.5. Am I by lucky? I feel lucky to catch.
That would have been, if you lost that, would they take 35 seconds there on the last possession and not even get a shot?
It was a dream. It was almost a dream scenario there because you don't want overtime and you don't want them to blow, to jack up a bad 3 and foul. The only scenario you have is, okay, let's shoot it and miss and see if we can tap it around for a while. And that's exactly what happened. So, I had no complaints with the way that final possession. I'm sure fans did. Moneyline bettors did. I didn't have any complaints at all.
Yeah, West Virginia shot 26%. Holy cow!
That's what you're saying. I'm like, if the refs didn't call it that way, it would have been worse. It would have been more unwatchable. It would have been brickfest for both sides. At least this way, the scoreboard gradually moved up.
If you just watch Right Side of Campus, thanks for joining us. We're every Thursday, 8 o'clock Pacific. Google Hangout, SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Check out the show Monday through Friday. Paulie and Teddy.
What's the show about, Paulie? Tell them what the show's about. I'm making you nuts already. I could tell. Look at that. He's getting annoyed.
Cal 707 Bears. Zags missed easy paint shots and free throws. He's right about that. I mean, Gonzaga missed a ton of bunnies. By the way, Jesus Christ, can we get the name right? They're in the Sweet 16 almost every year. They're a top program. Gonzaga. I mean, Weber and all these guys can't even get the name right, for Christ's sake.
Gonzaga? No, Gonzaga.
No, you're wrong. That's not how it's pronounced.
Really? It's like the Nevada versus. Now you're gonna mess me up with my own state.
Yeah, terrible, unbelievable. What's Gonzaga against Arizona? If that's the matchup, and I hope it happens. Is it pick?
I think Zona's short chalk. Man, pick them in that range. Could the Zags be dogs? Maybe.
Yeah, they could. Against this freight train, yeah.
Yeah, near pick 'em. In the same range that we're talking about UCLA, Kentucky is in the pick 'em range. Oregon, Michigan is in the pick 'em range. I would think. I gotta think Arizona's a point or two. I really do. But that's just that's a guesstimate. I don't have the numbers in front of me. We can if you can look at Ken Palm and get an idea where the or Sagarin. Either one will give you a pretty good idea of where the advanced metrics say the markets are going to be. I'm going to look them up right now. I can do that.
Sorry, Pomeroy loves Gonzaga. Does he still have them number one? I know Ken Palm loves Gonzaga, but it also depends on what happens tonight. Arizona's up. They're only up 2 now, 9 minutes first half. So maybe if they struggle.
Wow, Ken Palm's got Gonzaga 1 and Arizona 18, which surprises me.
18?
Yeah. Well, remember, we were talking about this before the start of the tournament, talking about how, come on, you remember we had this discussion on SportsBit. That's why we do a Sports Center for Gamblers every single night. But when we talk about Arizona and the Pac-12 in general, they were more highly regarded in the polls than they were by the advanced metrics numbers. We were saying that the UCLAs and the Arizonas and the Oregons all might be priced relatively cheaply in the tournament compared to some of the other conferences because they weren't as well regarded. And lo and behold, the Pac-12 has been the single best point spread team in the tournament so far.
Sure.
And cashed another ticket earlier with the Oregon Ducks.
Yeah, Conference of Champions, Statue of Liberty, spark it up. Bill Walton. How about Oregon, Michigan? Now that's a tough one too. Michigan's up 3 with 1:40 left. Oregon misses a free throw. They get the rebound and the putback. Or Michigan doesn't score the rest of the game.
It was the 2 offensive rebounds. Was the whole game there?
Yep.
It was 1 possession. Obviously, it's a 1-point game. It's a 1-possession game with the West Virginia Gonzaga game, and 1-possession games often come down to 1 key sequence. In the Mountaineers game, it was the block and the 3-pointer at the other end, and in the Michigan-Oregon game, it was the offensive glass. And Michigan, their weakness on the boards, which is something that we talked about on SportsBit again a couple of times over the course of the season, that Michigan not a particularly good defensive rebounding team, and in the end, it bit him in the ass and sent him home. Not a lot of differences between these two teams. 1 key mistake, it can be the end, and that's what it was for the Wolverines. Great. I mean, that was a great game. That was a really exciting game. It was much more aesthetically pleasing than Gonzaga, West Virginia was.
Cool. Yeah. Kudos to the people who didn't think the loss of Boucher was that big. They turned out to be right. I mean, Dorsey's been dynamite. They're doing this without a Superman performance out of Brooks. And great job by Dana Altman, too, as they get into the Elite Eight. Now,
yeah, sure. I mean, we talk about the teams that have overcome the key injuries to get it. Florida, obviously, with a huge injury to their big man. Xavier, with the huge injury to their point guard. I mean, the fact that we have teams that are here in the Sweet 16 after suffering an injury, not just to a role player, to a key starter, says something about how good those teams might have actually been if they would have had all hands on deck here in March.
I think Andy's talking about Gonzaga, Arizona, neutral court game. Yeah, it was in Los Angeles. I think that's what you're referring to. What would Gonzaga Xavier be? Xavier now with the lead.
Let's think about it. I mean, if I'm assuming that Arizona is going to be pick 'em or -1 against the Zags, then we're going to assume a very similar point spread against Xavier. Although Xavier probably would get a little bit more credit from the books if they knock off Arizona. I would anticipate something right around the 7.5 we're looking at now.
Okay.
For this game. But then again, that's a guesstimate number.
How about this Kansas freight train? Holy cow. I mean, there's so many weapons. They can hit you with a 10-point run just like that.
And the incredible thing about Kansas, I mean, this team was a lousy point spread team. They did not cover numbers. They were bad favorites. But it's so different in the tournament because the nuance is different. And now Kansas isn't being asked to cover 9 at home and 11 at home and 15 at home. Now it's all single digits the rest of the way. And obviously those point spreads are very much in the Jayhawks wheelhouse. We're talking, as we mentioned on SportsBit, again, earlier in the week, 13-2 straight up in games decided by 10 or less. That's been bad news for them as big chalk all year. But in the tournament, obviously, it serves them very well.
Mike Campbell checking in. The Florida total looks awfully high. What do you think? Florida and Wisconsin.
Awfully high? I'm 131.5. Not,
Yeah, I don't think that's high. Yeah.
It's not awfully high, but certainly
Wisconsin can score. I mean, this is not the Wisconsin team with Dick Bennett back in the day. I mean, these guys can score.
Well, it was that way when they went to the title game 2 years ago. An offense that was remarkably efficient. And the Badgers in the opening 2 games of this year's tournament had offensive numbers that were comparable to that team when it comes to points per possession. Trip
checking in again. Kansas, Oregon, going to be a fun watch if that happens. Yeah. And Kansas, last time I checked, up 12. That'll be a fun game. Although I just think Kansas has too much, especially with the game in Kansas City. But I like Altman over Self in that one.
Yeah, I got 66-54, 11-18 left. I didn't turn the TVs off this time. Last week when I was going solo, I had to turn the TVs off.
No, hey,
this week
I'm a talk show host. I got to watch the games. Screw you. I have to watch the games.
You're taping this stuff.
Yeah,
sorry. No spoiler alerts for Paulie. We're not allowed to tell him anything that's going on. Come on, we're doing a live chat. They're going to tell us anyway. I'm
Frank Costanza. I like to go in fresh. You got that right. They're up 15 now.
Do your Seinfeld.
My Jerry, it's not that good. Who are these people? What you want to do in the association tonight while we wait for questions? What do you want to do? You want to talk tomorrow's games?
Sure. Oh, look at that. Jayhawks up 15 now. Sorry. Yeah, there's. Oh man, I'm just trying to get that nasty look on Paulie's face. Yeah, sure. I got no problem. Oh, that's my baseball rotation.
All right, Florida 1.5, 1/3.
Ah, crap. Hang on 1 second. I got to put the headset down.
Florida 1.5, 131.5 the total. There are twos popping up in a couple of places now. Make some more noise. MGM Mirage, William Hill. Listen, this Wisconsin team is no 8 seed. We went over that, but they were at one point they were in the top 5, and they were preseason top 10. So this is not an 8 seed, but the Gators been on a hell of a run here. I like whiskey. What do you think?
Well, it's a team obviously that's been to the Sweet 16. Not just this year, not just last year, each of the last 4 seasons. So you're talking about a squad that's going to come in to a game where the pressure gets magnified a little bit more with that level of confidence. We've been here before. And, as we talked about on Sportsbook earlier today, Paulie, what could have been for the Badgers, how close they've been to really having a remarkable and impressive run in the big dance. But Florida's no joke. I'm not selling the Gators short. I'll tell you that much. And I worry about Wisconsin. They hit a bunch of shots last week. I don't know if it works as well against that Florida Gators defense.
Okay, that's the late game, Madison Square Garden, Friday night. The early game, South Carolina and Baylor. Baylor 3.5, 135.5 the total. As we talked about on sports, but this is my thought. I'm worried about South Carolina getting the hero's welcome, coming back after beating Duke and everyone telling them how great they are on campus.
You should. And it happens every year in college basketball. We're a team that hasn't been there before, and they get to the next, no matter what happens, South Carolina's season is successful now. You know, one of the greatest seasons in school, program history, or was it, obviously. But I'm not sold on Baylor. I mean, this is a team, and I love the fact that I keep doing this, and I hate the fact that I keep doing it because I'm like, oh, but Sportsbet. But you know what? On Sportsbet, we talked about Baylor the day they went to West Virginia. I remember the day they went to West Virginia. They were dogs at West Virginia. I'm like, this line's telling you something. Baylor, this is the high point of their season. They're number 1 right now. They can only go down, and they have. They've been a 40% spread team ever since. So I'm just not. Good game. Under makes a lot of sense too. I don't see either team. If South Carolina can play at the pace that they played last week and hit a bunch of shots, then it's a different story. But a team that hasn't shot straight all year, it's almost like West Virginia. All right, you shoot straight for a game or two, great. It doesn't mean you're going to shoot straight the next game, especially when you're playing a pretty good defensive team. We saw that for the Mountaineers tonight, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see that for the Gamecocks tomorrow. But defensively, they're every bit as good and tough as West Virginia is. I don't think Baylor has an easy time betting that game.
Tonight's live sports bet powered by YouWager. You have, this will be great. UCLA and Kentucky, the late game. UCLA has won at the MGM William Hill and win, 166 the total, 97-92 when they met in December at Rupp.
Yeah, Penny's sitting there. This is an interesting game to talk about, okay? Because here's Bovada with UCLA -1. Here's Penny with Kentucky -1. And if you're just going to look at 2 books in the world, I would say look at your recreational better and look at your sharp better, and you're going to see the difference there. But is this a real sharp square divide game? No. I mean, the house has the biggest liability of this game is on the under right now, and I don't disagree with that assessment either. Kentucky's tried to run with UCLA twice in the last 2 years, and they've come up short both times.
Man, it's interesting. You got a 4-point move on the total.
Yeah, it was a huge steam move on this total.
Wow.
What's that, yesterday? It was. Was it Wednesday? Well, it might have even been Tuesday. I'll tell you in a second if you want to look it up.
Whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But there was a big steam. It was sitting at one. It was as high as 169, and in a matter of first day of spring. What's that? 2 days ago. In a matter of from between basically 9:10 in the morning and 9:15 in the morning, it got popped pretty hard. Here in Vegas and move that down. Yeah, of course. Kentucky was trying to run with this team. They failed. Both teams way better defensively now than they were early in the season. Remember, again, on SportsFit, we read those quotes from Coach Cal talking about a team not playing defense. And he's got to get them to play defense. And everything's about defense. And lo and behold, over the last 10 games, they played defense. They've been trending under. Same thing with UCLA. The full season numbers don't show it, but the Pac-12 numbers show it, and the numbers down the stretch show it even more. Bruins have gotten a lot better on the defense side of the football. You look at UCLA's defense compared to, say, we talk about Arizona being a really good defense and UCLA not so much. In Pac-12 play, there was like 0.3 hundredths of a difference in points per possession between the two teams. UCLA's defense is all right, and both teams are trending under. That under makes a ton of sense to me, and obviously the markets thought so as well because they moved to the under in a big way in a hurry. That was all wise guy money.
All right, auto fade the ACC. North Carolina 7.5, 153.5 the total against Butler. 4:00 Pacific tomorrow. ACC unmitigated disaster in the tournament.
Well, let me ask you this though. I mean, you say auto fade them. Is North Carolina the one good team in the ACC? The one team that's going to make a run? Because you see that all the time. Oh, well, this conference stinks, but they have.
Did you watch the Arkansas game?
Yeah, but again, did you watch the game where North Carolina couldn't get a bucket against Virginia? I mean, it's not like they haven't had a good game or every game all year. This
is like the SEC in football. Just because you beat each other up and win some big games, don't tell me you're good. Look what happens when you have to play other people now. Not only are they 2-13 ATS, what are they, minus 75 against the spread in the second round?
Oh, yeah, I think more. It was pretty ugly. But I'm not going to step in front of North Carolina tomorrow. I'll tell you that right now. I will not have a Butler ticket in my pocket. I don't have a Butler ticket in my pocket. I'm not going to buy one between now and then.
Right.
No, sir.
All right. What was you got any tweets?
I haven't even looked. You wanted me to look for frickin' NBA numbers.
Well, there was a good question. There was a funny line. Where'd this guy go? I got to give him credit. Guy, I think might have been. No, it was Sal. I take Cal Bakersfield over all these teams.
The 8th seed go to New York City.
That is the first 8th seed to make the NIT Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. It really, and they blew everybody out. They were up 16 in every game by halftime, and then hanging on. Julian Labrador really appreciated us talking about his bad beat last night with that under. He said, "Thanks for talking about it on the show. Now that beat doesn't taste that bad, sort of. You guys are the best. Cheers. Appreciate that." We got what else we got, man? George.
Tripp doesn't. Tripp wants to take the 4 with South Carolina. Doesn't trust Baylor. I understand. Figures to be a close game. That could be. What I can't believe is what South Carolina's doing on offense in the tournament so far.
Well, that's just it. I mean, is it a story with West Virginia? Like, because again, West Virginia, all of a sudden they shot straight for a couple games and then they didn't. Tonight, when it came down to it, they didn't. Is that going to be the same story for South Carolina tomorrow? Because all year long, that team hasn't been able to shoot straight. They have Sindarius Thornwell, who's a pretty unique talent, and a guy who will be playing at the next level as a go-to guy for close games. But in general, the Gamecocks, you're trying to find a good perimeter shooter on that team. You'll be looking for a long time. So they got hot last weekend. Can they carry it over to this weekend against a little bit better defensive competition? That obviously the question as they match up against Baylor.
I'll tell you, this could be a distraction too with Alford. People I trust tell me he's going to take the Indiana job.
Now, this is something I don't understand. Okay, there's 2 factors to talk about here.
Yep.
One, you got the freaking I really wanted to say the F-bomb there, but you got the UCLA job. It's the best job in the country. I mean, as good as any job in the country. Why do you want the Indiana job? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, he went to Indiana.
Doesn't matter. I'd rather live in LA or Bloomington, dude.
You think it's cheap to live in LA? You want to live in LA? Kardashians, all that nonsense. Apparently,
yeah, I hear you. Maybe
he doesn't get along with the administration. They wanted to fire him last year. He had to write some kind of a letter apologizing for the 15 and 17 season. Maybe he wants to get away from LeVar Ball too. I don't blame him.
There's certainly an aspect of more control that you might have over the program of Indiana, but Indiana strategically is not poised to succeed like UCLA. You know, the Hoosiers' heyday is come and gone, and I don't see Indiana returning to that level of prominence. So,
also throwing them $31 million according to reports.
Well, yeah, that'll. But I mean, do you think he brings Indiana back to the Final Four type relevance? Program hasn't been at that level in what 30 years now.
He was a 3 seed at Iowa. They lost to Northwestern State in the first round. He went to New Mexico. They vomited on themselves early every year with a good seed. And he's been to the Sweet 16 a couple times. We'll see what he does tomorrow. But with Indiana, maybe. But I think he'll get him back as a top seed. But a deep tournament run, he's never done it before.
Well, but here's the other factor. People are like, oh, well, UCLA is distracted. Well, let's see. What do they have? They have a couple seniors. They're not going to be back. They have a couple freshmen going to the NBA. They're not going to be back. You know, it's not like this is a team where everyone, oh, well, you're leaving us. No, they're all leaving. You know, UCLA is a one and done. And that's something we'll talk about a bunch on tomorrow's Sports Bit as we preview UCLA, Kentucky. A couple more minutes here, Paulie. What else we got?
Matthew Neal, any sleeper baseball teams you're looking to bet on early? I would go against the Reds and the Padres. The Padres are starting me in left field. And the Reds, Scott Feldman's their opening day starter. Oh man, that's horrible.
But again, the great equalizer is where the markets are going to price teams. I'm a little bit more. I think I'm bullish on Milwaukee more than other teams. I think Milwaukee is a 75-win team, 78-win team. Their price is like a 70-win team. But does that mean I expect to definitely be making money with the Brewers the first week or two? No. I ease into the MLB season. I'm not a guy that's going to go nuts that first week, that first 10 days. I'm going to see the starters go through once or twice. I'm going to see how these lineups produce. And then by about the end of April, that's when May and June are my sweet spots for MLB. April, I definitely take it slow, but Brewers are one team that I've got my eye on.
All right, Connor likes the Royals under. Gogster says, who wins the AL East? I'll go Red Sox. The rotation's filthy. There was a question here about in-play. Oh, James Reno. In basketball, how far does the line have to move from the closing line before you make an in-play wager? I'm doing that based on feel and watching the game. That's
and one thing I want to do this offseason is take a look. I'm going to go through my own analytics because obviously if you're doing this at a serious level, you're tracking every wager, every one of them.
Yeah.
We got a spreadsheet. You don't have to do it at the time. You go back at the end of the night and track everything in and see what you're winning with and see what you're losing with. And in general, I'm with Paulie in terms of it's not something that is formulaic for me. It has to be feel. It has to be, especially with teams that has to be a sense of this is about the time they're going to make their run or this is about the max that they're going to do. Let's start to look the other way. It's not a specific point spread I'm looking for or variance from the point spread. It's a feeling that this game's about to swing one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't. What it does before doesn't concern me. What do the guy wants to know about the Red Sox win total? I got it here.
It's 92.5. I haven't looked at it the last week or so.
All right.
Yeah, but that was one of them. That wasn't all of them. Let's see. Alexis Iniesta at Football 24. Oh, yeah. So with Boston -4, I'm assuming Washington's your play of the year tonight. Or do you think the game was in Washington? Yes. I thought the game was in Washington. I got that point spread wrong. I hate that.
Hey, you make a mistake, they'll never let you live it down.
No, well, look at that. They're giving you grief. The Boba Georgian, the Boba. Play of the day on Dortmund for April 11th during March Madness, priceless. They
What?
hate it.
Oh, cut it out. It was a Tuesday, for Christ's sake. There was nothing going on. Jesus Christ. What do you want? I liked it. What do you want? So what? Deb wanted us to talk about the Champions League. So I said, all right, let's go with we talked about the Champions League draw there. By the way, we're powered by YouWager tonight. Here's another plug. Iceland. What's Iceland? I don't know what the hell he's looking at Iceland. What else do we? We need someone to feed us questions, so we don't have to do this.
Yeah. I'm running out of steam. Beauty. All right. Thanks for the insight on tomorrow's Sweet 16 game. Sportsbet. Betting insight today at sbrpicks.com. Seriously, guys, I know that many of you are viewers of the show. Some of you probably aren't and just checking it out. I encourage you. Sports Central for Gamblers every single weekday, Monday through Friday. Paulie and I take the time to put together a really good, informative show, getting information you're not going to find from mainstream sources. Please check it out. Tell your friends. Sportsbet every day at sbrpicks.com.
Gogster, any NBA team you guys see running the table or making a run in the playoffs? I don't care. I stand by it. Once Durant comes back, the only team that can slow down the Warriors is themselves.
Miami's a team that I don't know if I want to say making a run. Well, shit, they made a run.
No, you're going to play the Cavs probably. Watch out for the Celtics. They're a game back for the 1 seed.
Sure. And the 1 seed means nothing to Cleveland.
Huh?
Denver's a team that obviously has been riding the Nuggets. The Nuggets are playing good ball right now. They're certainly a team to pay attention to right here. And Milwaukee is another team that finally.
They're 6th seed right now. The Houston Rockets. I'm president of the fan club. 25-1. Get on board there. 25-1 with the Rockets. They're the 3 seed. They'll beat the Spurs in the playoffs if they match up against them.
Are you going to make money with Rockets? We're not talking about that. That's months from now. Are you going to make money with Rockets in their last 11 games?
I have the floor. 25-1. Houston Rockets. Get it in your portfolio. You'll thank me later. Oh, yeah. Hard, baby.
At 25-1, I have no problem getting that in my portfolio, but that line's long gone now.
I still think you can get 20-1, 25-1. A couple weeks ago, 25-1 was available.
Let's take a look.
I had the Rockets 16-1 to win the division. Oh, they blew so many games early in the season. Oh my God. Oh, my aching ass. It's terrible. What else do we have?
If you shop around, you can find close to 20-1 on Houston. Huh. In fact, I'm looking at something even better than that. I don't know if it's real, but it's worth looking at. Yeah. All right, there you go.
Who would rather see in the first?
I don't know. See, that's the thing with futures. I don't look at the future board every day. I've never been one of these guys that that's where I gravitate to the future board. So every once in a while, I'm like, oh wow, really? Oh wow, my God, are they really?
Arizona down 2 minutes till the half. Wow, what a job by Chris Mack. What a coaching job this is. Just to be in this position. They lose Sumner.
And there wasn't. There's not a whole lot of drama in the Kansas-Purdue game that you taped. All right, dude, let's call it. We're half hour in. Let's not bore people to death. Sportsman betting insights today. Thank you.
Powered by YouWager. Powered by YouWager tonight.
Check them out. YouWager.com.
Check it out. Yeah, drink your coffee. And we'll be back tomorrow to recap everything. Thanks, guys.